Dr. Kate Miller felt the transport shuttle shudder as it docked with Station Apex 7. She pressed her face against the small window, watching the massive orbital facility grow larger. This was it. Her first real assignment after completing the Galactic Medical Exchange Program. 5 years of training, learning about alien biology and physiology, all leading to this moment. She grabbed her bag and stepped through the airlock, her boots clicking against the metal floor. The station was bigger than she imagined. The entry hall stretched out like a cathedral made of metal and glass. Hundreds of beings moved through the space, creatures she had only seen in textbooks. Some floated, some crawled, some walked on legs she couldn't count. The air smelled strange, a mix of recycled oxygen and something sweet she couldn't identify. A tall figure approached her. At first, Kate thought it was wearing armor, but then she realized the hard shell was its skin. The creature stood at least 7 feet tall, with multiple legs and arms that moved in unsettling coordination. Its head reminded her of a praying mantis, with large compound eyes that reflected the station lights like tiny mirrors. "Dr. Miller, I presume?" the alien said through a small device attached to its chest. The voice sounded mechanical but polite. "I am Vex, your guide and supervisor. Welcome to Station Apex 7. Kate extended her hand, then pulled it back, unsure if the gesture would translate. Vex seemed to understand anyway and made a clicking sound she guessed was approval. "Thank you," Kate said. "I'm excited to be here. Come. Let me show you why this station is the pride of the galactic community." Vex turned and began walking, his multiple legs moving in a rhythm that made Kate slightly dizzy to watch. They moved through crystalline corridors that bent light in strange ways. Vex talked as they walked, his translator clicking between his native language and English. "We house the galaxy's largest collection of preserved species. Specimens from 47 worlds. Some extinct in the wild, existing only here. It is a great responsibility." Kate nodded, trying to take in everything at once. Through transparent walls, she caught glimpses of other habitats. Strange plants that moved like animals. Pools of liquid that might have been water or might have been something else entirely. Then they entered the main habitat dome and Kate stopped walking. Her breath caught in her throat. The space was enormous, bigger than any stadium on Earth. The ceiling curved hundreds of feet above, showing the stars beyond. Enclosures spread out in every direction, each one a small world unto itself. She saw forests that glowed blue, deserts with purple sand, oceans that bubbled with life. But something at the far end caught her attention. An isolated enclosure, separated from the others. Inside was a creature so massive it made her feel like an insect. The being stood on 3 legs, each one thick as a tree trunk. The 4th leg hung in the air, bent at an awkward angle, the foot barely touching the ground. Its body was covered in dark blue scales that seemed to shimmer in the artificial light. 2 enormous tusks curved from its face, made of something that looked like crystal or diamond. They caught the light and split it into rainbows. But what struck Kate most was how the creature moved. It shifted its weight constantly, rocking from one leg to another. Even from this distance, she could see it trembling. Its massive head hung low, and its breathing seemed labored. "What is that?" Kate asked, unable to look away. Vex followed her gaze. "Ah, the Vrothian Titan. Magnificent, is it not? The last of its kind. We saved it from extinction 287 years ago when its home world was destroyed by volcanic activity. It is one of our greatest successes." Kate watched the creature begin to lower itself to the ground. The movement was painful to watch. It took almost a full minute, each shift of weight careful and slow. When it finally settled, a sound escaped from it, low and rumbling. It sounded like a groan. "Why is it only using 3 legs?" Kate asked. Her medical training was screaming at her. This wasn't normal. This wasn't right. "It has always been this way," Vex said with a dismissive wave of one arm. "We believe it may be a genetic defect of the species. But we cannot know for certain. It is the last one after all. No comparison available." Kate started walking toward the enclosure, but Vex's arm shot out, blocking her path. The limb was surprisingly strong. "Dr. Miller, please remember your role here. You are an observer. You are here to learn our methods, not to practice your own. The protocols are very clear." Kate stared at the Titan. Its massive eyes were closing slowly, like it was exhausted from the simple act of lying down. Its 4th leg was still held at that strange angle even while resting. She could see the foot was swollen, larger than the others. "How long has it been like this?" she asked quietly. "Since before I was born," Vex replied. "My grandfather kept the records when he worked here. The creature has always favored 3 legs. Now come." There are 46 other habitats to show you. But Kate couldn't move. She stood there watching the Titan's labored breathing. Watching the way it trembled even while lying still. Watching the way it kept that leg held away from its body. Every instinct she had, every hour of medical school, every patient she had ever treated, all of it was telling her the same thing. This creature was in pain. Serious pain. Constant pain. And nobody seemed to care. Kate couldn't sleep that first night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the Titan struggling to move. She saw that swollen foot held carefully off the ground. She heard that low groaning sound it made when it finally lay down. The next morning, she was at the Habitat Dome before the artificial sunrise even began. She brought a folding chair and set it up outside the Titan's enclosure. If they wanted her to be an observer, fine. She would observe. The Titan woke slowly. It took almost 10 minutes just to stand up. Kate watched every second. The creature would rock forward, then back, building momentum. When it finally pushed itself up, it immediately lifted that right rear foot, balancing on just 3 legs. The whole body shook from the effort. Kate pulled out her personal data pad and started taking notes. Time to stand, 9 minutes, 43 seconds. Foot held approximately 6 inches off ground. Visible trembling in supporting legs. Body temperature elevated in right rear quadrant. A small maintenance drone floated past, and the Titan's eyes followed it with what Kate could only describe as sadness. Or maybe exhaustion. It was hard to tell with an alien face, but something in those eyes looked tired. So very tired. By noon, Kate had watched the Titan attempt to eat. A mechanical feeder dispensed what looked like purple hay into a trough. The Titan had to lean forward to reach it, which meant putting weight on that bad leg. Kate saw it flinch. Actually flinch. It took 3 bites, then gave up and moved back to its resting position. She checked the feeding charts posted outside the enclosure. The Titan was supposed to eat 40 pounds of food per day. But according to her observations, it had eaten maybe 5 pounds. Maybe. On day 2, Kate started digging through the station's database. She had basic clearance as a medical observer, which gave her access to historical records. What she found made her angry. The Titan, officially labeled as Specimen VT001, had a file 3 centuries thick. She scrolled through reports written in dozens of alien languages, all translated by the station's computer. The Vex people had cared for it first for 70 years. Then the Corians, a species that looked like walking boulders, took over for another 80 years. Then the Lumens, beings made of pure energy, had maintained it for 60 years. The list went on. 17 different species. Hundreds of caretakers. Thousands of examinations. And every single medical report said the same thing. Specimen stable. No intervention required. Continue current care protocols. Kate found one report from about 50 years ago where a caretaker had noted the Titan's limited mobility. The response from the supervising physician was filed right below it. Mobility adequate for species survival. No action needed. Adequate for survival. Not for living. Just for not dying. On day 3, Kate requested an official meeting. She spent the morning preparing her presentation, gathering every piece of evidence she could find. When she walked into the conference room, Vex was already there. So was Administrator Rel, a creature that looked like a floating jellyfish, its transparent body pulsing with bioluminescent lights. "Thank you for seeing me," Kate said, setting up her data pad to project onto the holographic screen. "Of course, Dr. Miller," Rel said through his translator. The voice sounded like water flowing over rocks. "What concerns you?" Kate brought up her scans of the Titan. "I believe the Titan is suffering from a severe infection in its foot. Look at these thermal readings. The right rear foot is running 15 degrees hotter than the rest of its body. That's a clear sign of inflammation. And here," she zoomed in on another scan, "you can see the swelling. The foot is almost twice the size it should be." She pulled up more data. "The creature is barely eating. It's not moving normally. Every medical sign points to chronic pain." Rel's body pulsed a darker blue. "Dr. Miller, I appreciate your concern, but this creature has existed in this exact state for 287 years. It eats enough to survive. It sleeps. It breathes. It continues to live. This is simply its natural condition." "Natural?" Kate felt her voice rising. "There's nothing natural about constant pain." Vex's mandibles clicked together rapidly, a sound she had learned meant confusion. "Pain is an inefficient biological response, Dr. Miller. The creature has adapted and continues its existence. What more is needed beyond survival?" Kate stared at them both. A horrible realization was dawning on her. "You don't understand what pain means, do you?" "Not really." We understand the concept intellectually, Rel said slowly. My species experiences minimal physical discomfort. It is how our evolution made us efficient. We assumed other species were similarly adapted to their conditions. How many species have examined this creature over the years? Kate asked, though she already knew the answer. 17 different species have served as caretakers. And not one of them helped it? Not one. Helped? Vex seemed genuinely confused. Dr. Miller, the creature is alive. We have kept it alive for nearly 3 centuries when its entire species died. That is help. We do not interfere with stable biological processes. It is the first protocol of galactic conservation. Kate looked back at the holographic display. It showed the Titan in its enclosure lying on its side, that bad leg still held at an awkward angle even in rest. You call that stable? She whispered. That night, Kate couldn't take it anymore. She returned to her quarters and pulled out her personal medical scanner, the one she had brought from Earth. It was more advanced than anything the station used, designed specifically for analyzing unknown biology. She had to get closer. She couldn't do a proper scan from outside the enclosure. So she waited until late in the cycle when most of the station was asleep, and she approached the Titan's habitat. The creature was lying down, but its eyes were open. Kate held up her scanner and activated it through the transparent barrier. The results came back in seconds, and what she saw made her feel physically sick. The infection was massive. The Titan's immune system had built a wall around it, creating an abscess the size of Kate's entire torso. The pocket of infected tissue pressed against bone and nerves, and according to her scanner, it had been there for possibly 200 years or more. 200 years of constant pain. Every single step pressing infected tissue against nerve endings. Every movement agony. And 17 species had looked at this and decided everything was fine. Kate stood there in the darkness watching the Titan breathe, watching it suffer. And she made her decision. She didn't care about protocols anymore. She didn't care about the first law of galactic conservation. She didn't care if they sent her back to Earth in disgrace. That creature was in pain and she was going to help it, no matter what it cost her. Kate spent the entire day pretending everything was normal. She attended her training sessions, nodded at the right times, took notes she would never read. But her mind was somewhere else entirely. She was planning. During lunch, she casually walked past the security station, counting cameras and noting their angles. She memorized the patrol schedules by watching the guards change shifts. In her quarters that evening, she pulled up the station schematics on her data pad, studying the power grid and security systems. Her first contact training had covered a lot of unusual scenarios. One instructor, a grumpy old veteran named Coach Reynolds, had taught them something the official curriculum never mentioned. Sometimes, he had said, the rules are wrong. And when the rules are wrong, you need to know how to work around them. Not to cause trouble but to do what's right. Kate had never thought she would actually use those lessons. She waited until 0300 station time. The night cycle was in full effect, lights dimmed throughout the facility. Most of the station's population was asleep or in their rest cycles. She dressed in dark clothing and packed her medical bag carefully. Portable surgical kit. Antibiotics she had been synthesizing for the past 2 days. Lights. Bandages. Everything she might need. Her hands shook as she sealed the bag. This was it. No going back after this. The walk to the habitat dome felt like it took forever. Every shadow made her jump. Every distant sound made her heart race. But she didn't stop. She couldn't stop. That creature had suffered for 300 years. She wasn't going to let it suffer one more day. The lock on the Titan's enclosure was sophisticated, but not impossible. Kate pulled out a small device, something she had put together from spare parts in the station's maintenance area. She attached it to the control panel and watched as it cycled through security codes. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Sweat dripped down her back. Come on, come on. At minute 15, the lock clicked open. Kate grabbed her bag and slipped inside, closing the door behind her as quietly as possible. The enclosure was dark except for the faint glow of the artificial stars above. She could hear the Titan breathing, slow and heavy. As her eyes adjusted, she could make out its massive shape lying on the ground about 30 feet away. Kate's heart was pounding so hard she thought it might break through her chest. She set down her bag and pulled out her portable lights, setting them up on low power. Then she approached slowly, her footsteps soft on the packed ground. "Hey there," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I'm going to help you, okay? I know you're hurting. I know you've been hurting for a long time." The Titan's massive eye opened. In the dim light she could see it clearly. Deep brown, almost black, with flecks of gold. The eye focused on her, and for a long moment, neither of them moved. Kate held her breath. The creature could kill her without even trying. One swipe of those crystal tusks, one step of those massive feet. Then, slowly, deliberately, the Titan shifted its body. It extended the injured leg toward her, straightening it out as much as it could. The invitation was unmistakable. Kate's eyes filled with tears. "You understand?" she breathed. "Oh God, you understand what I'm trying to do." The Titan made a low rumbling sound deep in its chest. It vibrated through the ground beneath Kate's feet. She took it as permission and moved closer. Up close, the foot was even worse than her scans had shown. The abscess was enormous, a massive swelling on the underside of the foot that must have made every step absolute torture. The skin was discolored, dark purple instead of the healthy blue of the rest of its body. Even through her medical gloves, she could feel the heat radiating from it. "This is going to hurt at first," Kate said softly, talking more to calm herself than anything. "But then it'll feel so much better. I promise. Just, please don't kick me." She unpacked her surgical tools. Her hands were steadier now. This was familiar territory. Pain she could fix. Suffering she could end. This was why she became a doctor. The scalpel she had chosen was designed for thick-skinned species. She had modified it that afternoon, adjusting the blade depth and angle. The first incision had to be perfect. Too shallow and she wouldn't reach the abscess. Too deep and she might cause serious damage. Kate positioned the blade and pressed down. The Titan's hide was tough, tougher than anything she had cut before. She had to use both hands and real pressure to break through. The moment the blade penetrated deep enough, everything happened at once. Fluid erupted from the wound, thick and yellow-green, weeks or months or years of built-up infection. The smell hit her like a physical wall, even through her face mask. It was the smell of rot and decay, of tissue that had been dying slowly for longer than Kate had been alive. The Titan rumbled again, louder this time. Its whole body tensed. But it didn't pull away. It didn't move that foot even an inch. I know, Kate murmured, working as fast as she dared. She had to drain as much as possible, flush the cavity, remove any dead tissue. Her training took over, her hands moving on autopilot while her mind calculated risks and next steps. She was halfway through flushing the wound cavity when bright lights suddenly flooded the entire enclosure. Kate squinted against the glare but didn't stop working. "Dr. Miller. Step away from the specimen immediately." Vex's voice, usually so calm, was high-pitched with alarm. Kate didn't even look up. She kept flushing the wound, watching the color of the fluid change from dark yellow-green to lighter, clearer. "I'm not stopping," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "You can arrest me when I'm done saving its life. You are violating 17 conservation protocols." That was Administrator Rel, his watery voice shrill with panic. "This is a protected specimen. You are contaminating a sterile environment. Your protocols are torturing this creature," Kate shot back, finally glancing up. Vex stood at the entrance with 4 security officers, all armed with stun weapons. Rel floated behind them, his jellyfish body pulsing angry red. "We will remove you by force if necessary." The Titan moved. Its massive head swung around, positioning itself between Kate and the security team. The crystal tusks caught the light, throwing rainbows across the enclosure. The message was unmistakably clear. Anyone who wanted to reach Kate would have to go through the Titan first. Vex stepped backward, his mandibles clicking so rapidly they became a blur. It's protecting her?" "Of course it is," Kate said, returning her attention to the wound. She began applying the antibiotic ointment she had synthesized, working it deep into the cavity. "It knows I'm helping. Now everyone stay calm and let me finish. Unless you want to be responsible for killing the last Vrothian Titan." The silence that followed was deafening. Kate worked in that terrible quiet, aware of all those eyes watching her. The security team didn't move. The Titan didn't move. The only sounds were Kate's breathing and the soft rustle of bandages as she worked. It took another hour. Kate packed the wound carefully, administered broad-spectrum antibiotics through injection sites she had calculated based on the Titan's physiology, and finally wrapped the entire foot in protective bandages. Her back ached. Her hands cramped. But she was done. "There," she said, stepping back and pulling off her gloves. Sweat soaked her shirt. "Now you can arrest me." The Titan shifted its weight, testing the foot. And then, slowly, deliberately, it stood up. All 4 feet planted firmly on the ground. For the first time in recorded history, the last Vrothian Titan stood on all 4 legs. Kate didn't sleep. They had moved her to a holding cell around 0500, right after the incident. The cell was small but clean with a narrow bed and a tiny window. She sat on that bed for hours, watching the light change as the station's artificial dawn began. She wasn't scared. She probably should have been. Breaking into a protected enclosure, performing unauthorized medical procedures on a classified specimen, violating multiple conservation laws. They could send her back to Earth in disgrace. They could ban her from ever working with alien species again. They could do a lot of things. But every time worry tried to creep in, Kate looked through that small window. There was a monitor mounted on the wall outside her cell, displaying feeds from various habitats. And right now it showed the Titan's enclosure. The creature was walking. Not the painful three-legged hobble she had watched for days. Real walking. All 4 feet on the ground, weight distributed evenly, moving with a grace Kate hadn't known was possible. The Titan was pacing around its enclosure like it was exploring the space for the first time. Kate smiled. Whatever happened to her, it was worth it. Around 0800 she heard footsteps approaching. Multiple sets. The door opened and Vex entered first, followed by Administrator Rel. Behind them came at least a dozen other beings, species Kate had never seen before. They crowded into the small space, making it feel even more cramped. Dr. Miller, Rel began. His translator gave his voice that watery quality, but Kate couldn't read his tone. Was he angry? Disappointed? She honestly couldn't tell. We have observed significant changes in specimen VT001 since your unauthorized intervention. Kate stood up, keeping her voice steady. Its name is not specimen VT001. It's a living being with thoughts and feelings, not a specimen in a jar. Yes, a new voice said. Kate turned to see a feline-like alien stepping forward from the back of the group. The being stood about 6 feet tall, covered in short silver fur with darker stripes. Large amber eyes studied Kate with an intelligence that was unmistakable. The alien wore deep purple robes that marked her as someone important. It is indeed a living being, the feline alien continued, and it has been trying to tell us that for 287 years. My name is Dr. Mira. I am the chief linguist for this sector of the galaxy. Dr. Mira activated a small device, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the cell. It showed the Titan in its enclosure, recorded just an hour ago according to the timestamp. The creature was making sounds, complex vocalizations that rose and fell in patterns. These are linguistic patterns, Dr. Mira said quietly. We have been studying the creature intensively since your intervention last night. Dr. Miller, the Titan is sentient. Fully sentient. Kate felt her knees go weak. She sat back down on the bed. What? It has language, complex thought, long-term memory, self-awareness, everything that defines consciousness. Dr. Myra's ears flattened against her head, a gesture Kate guessed meant distress. It has been trying to communicate its pain for nearly 3 centuries. The room went completely silent. Kate could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. 300 years. 300 years of suffering, and it had been aware the entire time. Thinking, feeling, hoping someone would understand. Vex made a sound like breaking glass. His mandibles trembled. We did not know. My people, we do not experience pain as you describe. We never thought to look for signs of consciousness. We believed we were helping by keeping it alive. 17 species cared for this creature. A rock-like being said from the back, his voice like grinding stones. 17 advanced civilizations. And not one of us understood. Dr. Mira manipulated the holographic display. We decoded its first clear message approximately 2 hours ago. Would you like to hear it? Kate nodded, not trusting her voice. The display changed, showing a waveform of the Titan's vocalizations. Then text appeared below, the translation rendered in English. Kate read it once, then again, tears streaming down her face. Thank you. The small one understood. Finally, after so long, finally one understood. Administrator Rel's body had turned a pale, almost white color. We have committed a grave error. Not through malice but through ignorance. We caused suffering we could not even perceive. Kate wiped her eyes. What happens now? Vex stepped forward. We have been in emergency session all night, consulting with the Galactic Council. Dr. Miller, you violated numerous protocols. This cannot be ignored. Kate lifted her chin. I know. I'd do it again. We know you would, Dr. Mira said, and Kate could swear the alien was smiling. That is precisely why the charges against you are being dropped. More than dropped, actually. Another official stepped forward, a being made of what looked like crystallized energy. The Galactic Council has reviewed your actions and their outcome. We have also reviewed testimony from the Titan itself. It testified? Kate asked. It requested to testify, the crystal being said. It spoke of its suffering. It spoke of watching species after species care for its body but never see its mind. It spoke of losing hope that anyone would ever understand. The being's light pulsed softly. And then it spoke of you. Of the human who saw what others could not. Rel floated closer. Dr. Miller, humanity has something unique. An ability to recognize and respond to suffering in other species, even when that suffering is not obvious. You perceive pain in ways we do not. What are you saying? Kate asked. We are offering you a position, Dr. Mira said. The galaxy needs to learn what you know. We need you to teach us how to see what we have been missing. How to recognize pain. How to assess quality of life, not just survival. Vex's mandibles clicked softly. We have been keeping creatures alive, Dr. Miller. But you have shown us that survival is not the same as living. We need to learn the difference. Kate looked at the monitor showing the Titan. The creature had its head raised high, tusks gleaming, moving with energy and purpose. It looked reborn. I'll do it, Kate said. On one condition. Name it, Rel said. That creature gets a real name. Not a specimen number. A name. Dr. Myra's whiskers twitched. The Titan has already chosen one. It heard you use the word when you were treating it. It has requested to be called Keeper. Keeper? Kate repeated softly. Why that name? Because, Dr. Mira said, it intends to keep other creatures from suffering as it did. It wishes to work with you to help identify others who may be in pain. To be a keeper of compassion. Kate stood up, looking at all the officials crowded into her cell. When do we start? 3 months had passed since that night in the enclosure. Kate still couldn't quite believe how much had changed. She stood at the front of the main habitat dome, which had been completely redesigned. Where there used to be dozens of individual enclosures, there was now a massive teaching facility. Rows of seats curved in a semicircle, each one designed for a different type of body. Some seats floated for the energy-based species. Others were reinforced for heavy gravity beings. Some were just open spaces for creatures that didn't sit at all. 50 students filled those seats today. Medical professionals from 20 different species, all here to learn something their own civilizations had never taught them. How to recognize pain. How to assess suffering. How to tell the difference between surviving and actually living. Kate touched the control panel and a holographic display lit up behind her. It showed thermal scans, movement patterns, behavioral data. The key is observation, she said, walking slowly along the front row. Pain manifests differently in every species. Some species vocalize. Others go silent. Some become aggressive. Others withdraw completely. She pulled up a video of a creature from one of the other habitats. It looked like a cross between a lizard and a bird, with iridescent feathers and a long tail. This is a Corvin tree dweller. Watch its movement pattern over the course of a week. The video played in fast forward. The creature moved less and less each day, staying in one corner of its enclosure. The caretakers thought it was entering a hibernation cycle. But look at this. Kate overlaid the thermal scan. See that hot spot on its left wing joint? That's inflammation. The creature wasn't hibernating. It was trying to minimize movement because moving hurt. A being made of crystallized minerals raised one faceted limb. Its voice came through a translator that made it sound like wind chimes. But Dr. Miller, how do we know the difference between normal behavior and pain-related behavior? Kate smiled. She got this question at least once every class. Ask yourself this. If you were in pain every day of your life, would you call that living? Or would you just call it not dying? The silence that followed told her the message had landed. Behind her, through the massive transparent wall, Keeper walked through an expanded habitat that was 10 times larger than the old enclosure. The Titan moved with a grace that still amazed everyone who saw it. Sometimes Kate would watch students stop mid-conversation just to stare as Keeper paced past, all 4 feet moving in perfect coordination. Keeper had become more than just a patient. The Titan was now an ambassador working directly with Kate to educate the galaxy. 3 times a week, student groups would enter Keeper's habitat under supervision. The Titan would demonstrate how it used to move, that painful 3-legged hobble. Then it would show how it moved now. The difference was impossible to ignore. But more than that, Keeper could communicate. The translator devices had been refined over the past months, and now Keeper could speak directly to the students. The Titan would describe the pain, the isolation, the despair of trying to communicate suffering for centuries while no one understood. Those sessions always left students shaken. They needed to be shaken. After class ended and the students filed out, Kate gathered her materials. She was tired. Teaching was harder than she had expected. Not the actual instruction part, that was easy. It was the emotional weight. Every class, she had to confront the reality that thousands of creatures across the galaxy might be suffering right now, with caretakers who simply couldn't see it. She walked to Keeper's habitat. The door recognized her biosignature and opened automatically. Keeper was waiting near the entrance as if the Titan had been watching for her. Another group of students today, Kate said, reaching up to press her hand against Keeper's scaled forehead. The scales were warm under her palm, and she could feel the subtle vibration of Keeper's breathing. You're making a real difference, you know that? Keeper made a complex vocalization, and Kate's translator rendered it into English. We are making a difference, small healer. Both of us together. You saw what they could not see. You cared when caring was not protocol. Someone had to, Kate said softly. Many someones passed by my suffering, Keeper replied. The Titan's voice through the translator was deep and resonant. 17 species. Hundreds of individuals. All of them looked but none of them saw. Until you. Kate felt tears prickling her eyes. She would never get used to hearing Keeper talk about those centuries of pain. I'm just glad I was stubborn enough to break the rules. Humans break rules when rules are wrong, Keeper observed. This is humanity's gift to the galaxy. You do not accept suffering simply because it has always been. You question. You act. You care even when caring is inconvenient. Kate's communicator beeped. She pulled it out and checked the message. Another request for help. A mining station in a distant system had a creature that hadn't moved from one spot in 40 years. Everyone assumed it was normal behavior for the species. But the new station administrator had taken Kate's course last month and wanted a second opinion. Duty calls, Kate said, showing Keeper the message. The Titan made a sound that Kate had learned was approval. Go. Ill. Question what others accept. Show them what they have been missing. Kate left the habitat and headed toward the transport bay. As she walked through the station corridors, she passed a new memorial that had been installed near the main entrance. It was a simple stone wall with text engraved in 100 different languages. Kate paused to read the English version, even though she had memorized it weeks ago. For 287 years we looked but did not see. One human taught the galaxy that survival is not the same as living. May we never forget to ask, does it hurt? Below the text was a holographic display showing the names of creatures across the galaxy that had been helped because of Kate's work. The list grew longer every day. Beings that had been suffering in silence, now receiving treatment and care. Some had been in pain for years. Some for decades. One for over a century. Kate touched the memorial briefly, then continued to the transport bay. Somewhere out there, another creature was waiting. Another being that everyone else had decided was fine. She would see. She would care. And she would help. Because that's what humans did. They looked at suffering and refused to accept it. They broke rules that needed breaking. They cared when caring was difficult. And now, thanks to Kate and Keeper, the rest of the galaxy was learning to do the same. The transport shuttle doors opened and Kate stepped inside. As the ship lifted off from Station Apex 7, she looked back through the window. She could see the habitat dome and inside it, Keeper's massive form moving with grace and strength. Two beings who should never have met. A human doctor and the last member of an extinct species. Together they were changing the galaxy, one act of compassion at a time. Kate smiled and settled into her seat. The work was just beginning.